For authors, filmmakers, entertainment, and all your listening needs. Listen now to Talk Now Radio, where no topic is taboo.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man, and joining me tonight is Linnea Lee, and me and her are going to discuss her newest book out on the market, Paradox 5, and this is it's a novel. It's sort of a futuristic science fiction novel, in fact, that is adventures, and very good one I might want to add to you. I think you guys are going to enjoy this here, and I know I enjoyed reading the book, and I was so thankful to her that she thanked me in the book with the rest of her friends that she put up in the front. And that kind of gave me the big head and made me feel good. And I just had to go give her a really good review over at Amazon. You might want to go check out. But for now, we're going to bring her right on in here. Linnea, how you doing today?
I'm here.
Okay, that's good because I'm there.
Okay.
So, do you want to read this here poem first, or do you want to go into the book first?
You are going to read the poem.
All right.
I'm not good at reading poems.
Folks, Linnea has sent me a poem that she wanted me to read live on the air, and I thought we'd go ahead and get this out of the way real quick like. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that Talk Now Radio is listener-supported radio, and with your help, it can stay listener-supported. In other words, we won't need a sponsor, because if you get a sponsor in here, first thing they're going to do is if I have a topic come up they don't like, they're going to say, we're going to withhold our funding. We're not going to, support your show because we don't like the topic matter. So I try to find means of support that don't involve, telling me what I can and can't talk about on the air. And that's where you guys come in at. So don't forget, we got a donation meter over here on the right. I've got Google ads up at the top. That's another way you can support us. If you like one of the guests, you want to buy their book, don't go buy it direct from Amazon. Click on the link I have here at the site, because I get a little commission for that. So always make sure you do it that way to help out and keep us on the air. And also don't forget to invite your friends and tell them about us. If you like the show, I'm pretty sure they will too. Now, going into the poem. Let me get this out of the way real quick. And in fact, let me enlarge this, kind of make up for my bad eyes. Okay. We are the brave ones that stood by you until the very end. We, the weak, showed more loyalty and bravery than all the others, not fearing for ourselves as we watched the physical body die and physically never mend. Those that follow you we are all sisters and brothers. The women of your teaching, we were not scared as we knew our own safety was at risk. You are the way, the truth, and the life. So why should we fear? Protected by the Father. We knew we were never at risk. What you taught us in our minds remains very clear. We, the weaker sex, we feel there is no need to fear. Not even the Romans could make us abandon you. Watching as you suffer. Is your husband got a microphone or something on it? It's like I hear his voice keep cutting in.
No, you're hearing my puppy.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, that's what that is.
I'm pretty sure your husband won't appreciate the comparison.
Well, they're both fuzzy.
You can apologize for me. Anyway.
They're both fuzzy.
Not even the Romans can make us abandon you. Watching as you suffer on the cross for us all. Watching you on the cross, it all becomes clear. The Son of God, the Son of Man, for what you sacrificed, we should be happy, not sad and blue. At the foot of the cross, we stand beside you until death, watching the hell that was not your choice, that was bestowed on you. Then all of a sudden you cry out as you take your last breath, We know you went through agony. You asking why the Father had abandoned you, but in the end, this fact wasn't true. Crucifixion is known to the last for a day, but the Father's love, only 6 hours your agony lasts. We watched you die. We cried, even though we knew 3 days you would rise. We are so thankful the Father intervened that in such a short time from this life it soon became the past. On the cross, everyone suspected who you were. You never wore a mask or a guise. So we watched you die at the foot of the cross. We mourn, we cry. Most of the men, they would flee, but we, the women, were there until the very end. And we understand what you had to do and why. You, the Messiah, you gave your life so forgiveness and salvation would be available to all men. It's quite a poem there, Linnea.
I wanted to do something, in the topic of Easter, but something different. So I decided to write about the women, the high five to women. There we go.
Well, actually in the end, the Bible does say that I think it was Mary, his mother, and Mary Magdalene that did stay there at the cross during the whole thing. I'd have to look that up to make sure my memory's not bad.
You're absolutely right. I've been obsessed with religion since I was 16. I've got 40 years in my head. You're right.
So, now that you've high-fived all the ladies, which, by the way, happy Easter to everybody out there, including my better half, and to you too, Linnea Lee.
I hope your wife heard that.
I don't want to forget to say happy Easter, everybody, because I won't be on the air tomorrow to tell them. Now, what exactly inspired you to write about the Paradox 5 and Hitler and use this time machine concept?
Well, it's different. I always try to keep my ideas different. And I am what you say, historical thriller author. And to me, the biggest fear of the 20th century was Hitler. And that's why I chose to write on Hitler. And then the time travel just kind of stuck in there. And it was just different. I thought it up.
Okay, so when you were doing this here, do you plan on writing any sequels to it?
If it's called for.
If it's called for. So why don't you give us sort of a summary of how you would describe the book?
Wait, give me just a minute. My puppy's acting up here.
That's all right.
He's a little Cocker Spaniel. 9 weeks old. A terror.
So.
But I can say I always try to keep the paranormal in my books too. So a lot of their travels are to places you wouldn't think of. I mean, places steeped in the paranormal. Like Chernobyl, for instance. That place 25 years later is one big ghost town. I mean, and then Poveglia Island off the coast of Italy. The government won't even let anyone go on the island because they think the island is so haunted.
Actually, I've heard tell that the government in different areas has been restricting access to many of the holy sites.
I hadn't heard that in Poveglia Island in Holy. Poveglia Island was where they took victims of the plague, the Black Death, and they leave them there for like 4 days. And then if they die, then they burn their bodies. It's terrible. Even the ground itself looks like white chalk. You know, like something like if you burn leaves or something. It's like the white ash. The whole ground looks like that. And that's giving me chills.
Well, didn't you write about something similar happening in the in your book Paradox 5? One of the stops they went to is one where there was like a concentration camp or a old psychiatric hospital or something where a lot of deaths had taken place?
That was in Chernobyl.
Okay.
Because, you know, a lot of people died.
Okay.
Because of radiation.
Well, one of the interesting... Oh, go ahead.
I saw a special on TV about that, and I got hooked. Because, I mean, it's so eerie at that place. Their buildings, like playgrounds, you know, they're just abandoned. I mean, it's enough to give Dracula chills, probably.
Well, I noticed in your book, when you wrote about this, Hitler had met a young lady, you know, while sailing and had made love with her, and then went back about his business, and she never saw him again, and she mothered his child, and the child had never met Hitler. But I kept wondering, why did you focus on a grandson instead of allowing the son to be the one to travel through time and want to bring about everything, you know, all the historical...
I thought it'd be a little bit more intriguing because his father was killed during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I just thought that would be more intriguing for his grandson to do it than his father. And I made his grandson, like, ridiculed and put down his entire life. So for him to be somebody, he wanted to resurrect his grandfather's dream. That's what it all amounted to right there.
Right. And, you know, one of the things a person couldn't help but think about while reading that part about all the ridicule is what damage does bullying really do in the long run? Do any of us really know how many bullied kids came out well and how many did not come out well?
Well, I was bullied. I came out half well. I haven't murdered anybody, but it does. It takes a toll. I still remember. I mean, I was so intimidated at times, it was awful.
Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, I was more of the guy that stood up to the bullies, the one that protected all the other kids that didn't deserve to be beaten up, that couldn't seem to protect themselves. And even doing that took a toll on me. Even though I won most of my fights, I grew up with severe anger issues.
I never fought, but, you know, I've always had like a weight problem. Let me tell you what I did now. I graduated in 11th grade. And the last year I was in school, I lost 40 pounds and became a cheerleader. Well, after I became a cheerleader, the people that wanted to be my friends, that didn't want to be my friends, I was overweight. I didn't give them the time of day.
I
was still me.
I think your husband typed something into the chat room about take a look at this web after the show, but he didn't put a link in there.
DonnaInc.org. The link he was talking about is DonnaInc.org.
Ah.
That's the publisher's website.
Okay, and that's what he's wanting us to go take a look at, is the publisher's website?
Right.
Okay, I got you. Now, does this book have its own website by any chance?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No, I've got too many she's got to publish. She's going to publish. Right now, I'm working on the number 11.
Oh, really? And can you tell us a little something about that? You already told me, but I thought you
Which
might. Which
one?
I think this is the one you were talking about, the New Testament, weren't you?
Oh, yes, Restraint of the Prophet.
That one, yes. That's the one I was trying to think of.
It's really different. A lot of people may not like what I did, but I am taking history, the Gnostic Gospels, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Holy Bible, and putting them all together and writing my interpretation.
Oh, wow. Is that in the book that you sent me a copy to that I need to read?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I can't wait to get on that one.
Well, I first start out, like with the Templars. And they find the Grand Master of the Templars, Jacques de Molay. They find his diary. And they go from there.
Okay.
And in the book, what I'm writing about Jesus, most things I read try to make Jesus totally divine, but I make him more human, because if he understood man's emotions and man's heart, I think he would have a better understanding of the human heart. That's exactly why I did it. And too, the Dead Sea Scrolls, they're a little bit different than what's in the Holy Bible. But of course, the Holy Bible was chosen by Constantine and the Council of Nicaea back in 3-something or other. And the men chose the books of the Bible. So that's why I use the Gnostic Gospels and the Dead Sea Scrolls too. They're authenticated, so why not?
Okay. Well, have you ever heard of the Copper Scrolls?
Yes, I have the one that talks about the treasure.
Right. But it also talks about Akhenaten, I heard today.
Akhenaten, how did he get in there?
Because I was given to understand he's mentioned in the Copper Scrolls, and some of the Jews were, I think, worshiping him, or he was leading them, or something. I'd have to really talk to that author to get it straight.
But have you ever thought about this?
No.
Akhenaten was famous for monotheism, for trying to change all of Egypt, the religion, just to the sun god, Aten. You think maybe that had something to do with the god that we worship today? It'll make you think.
Well, that's funny you should mention that, because I've been doing a lot of research into that lately, even more than I had in the past. And one of the things I'm coming up with is interesting, as we all know, Amun-Ra was the god before Aten-Ra, and Amun was a solar deity, and so was Aten. So the difference was Amun was allowed many gods to be worshipped, whereas Aten only wanted his god to be worshipped. Or Aten to be the only god, but they were both solar deities. Yet Moses' god, the one with the Israelites, was a moon god. So the monotheism is not the same monotheism, in other words.
Where did you read that Moses worshipped the moon god?
It's all over the web. It's even in the Bible. If you look at the feast days, the day of worship, the Sabbath, that's a lunar worship.
I'm not good on the Old Testament. I'm pretty good on the New, but not the Old.
But the feast days are all lunar worship days. The Sabbath worship is a lunar worship day. The Jewish calendar was a lunar calendar. Why all of this if it wasn't lunar worship?
Well, let me give you another fact. There was a theory that Moses worshipped the same God as Akhenaten.
Well, see, that's the whole point. That's what everybody believes. But if the god of Moses was a moon god and the god of Akhenaten was a sun god, how are they the same god unless Aten changed to and wanted to be worshipped as a moon god instead of a sun god?
But isn't God the God of all?
Okay, the
when
Jewish
you think about it like that. Also think about this. All right, you've got God, you've got the Mother Mary, and you've got the Son, Christ. In Egyptian religion, you've got Osiris, the god of the underworld. You've got Isis, his sister wife, and their son Horus. So, I mean, there's a lot of similarities there. It'll make you wonder.
Right, that's true. But we're drifting away from Paradox 5, and I wanted to make sure that you got enough of that covered before we moved on to something else. And besides that, my wife's sitting in the chat room listening to every word, and she has a preference for Hitler.
Oh, gosh.
I think she's in love with him.
Well, you know, when I write a book, I try to put myself in the shoes of my character. I try to get in their heads. And I'm going to tell you what. Out of all the books I've written and all the characters I've done, Hitler, I would have to deem him the most insane. Because, I mean, you know, it's just unreal. Because I just learned the other day that Heinrich Himmler, the guy that ran the SS, that he had all these archaeological he sent archaeologists to different parts of the world to find the Holy Grail. Which he didn't find, thank God.
That's interesting because Boris went back in time to find all these holy relics.
That's right. That's why I did that. Anything that they could find, whether it be religious, Germanic, or whatever, they would twist the story to deem the Nazi regime was right. I mean, it is just so hard to believe in the 20th century that one man could seduce the whole country. I mean,
well, he was very charismatic, I heard. But, you know, also, I had Jerry E. Smith on my show once. He was the author of Spirit of Destiny. And according to his book, I still got it on my shelf. The Spirit of Destiny for a while had actually been in Hitler's possession.
Yes, it was. I'm going to tell you something about that, okay?
Okay.
4 days before Berlin went down, 4 days before Hitler supposedly committed suicide, a American GI found that thing, and it was supposed to be in a museum in Austria, I think. They returned it to the museum. 4 days later, Berlin fell and Hitler died. Now, they say whoever owns it, while they owned it, they cannot be beaten. But isn't it funny, after 4 days of finding it and returning it to its rightful place, Berlin fell. That'll give you chills.
Yeah, that's what it said in that book I was reading about the Spirit of Destiny, that whoever had it was destined to win in battle as long as they had it. But the problem is it had a curse attached to it too, didn't it?
No, I don't think. The only person I believe that was cursed was the guy who stuck Jesus with a spear. His name was Longinus. And he couldn't die. That was his curse, I guess you could call it. Who knows?
That might have been what I was thinking about. Was that
he could still be out there? Who knows?
But yeah, that was important to a lot of people. And also, now what I wondered you didn't write about was about him going back to the Antarctic to look for anything, because I understood that Hitler had a base in the Antarctic.
Now, I've never heard that. Honest, I've never heard that. But no, when I used Prevalia as one of the points to go back in time, it was perfect. Because who ran Italy at that time? Mussolini. And Mussolini and Hitler were pretty tight. So that's one reason I chose Prevalia.
Now, what was Hitler going to do with all these pieces, or Boris, I mean, once he assembled them?
They were proof. They were, hold on, no, what it is? Boris was going to use them as proof that what his grandfather wanted to succeed was, worthwhile. It was destiny. I guess you could say he was going to do the same thing that the Nazis did, twist it to fit the Nazi dream.
So he kind of want to make it look like it was proof that he was God's chosen to rule, so to speak.
You're right. Absolutely. Absolutely right.
Well, isn't this the same thing that the Jews have done with the Ark of the Covenant?
Nope. I do not believe so.
You don't?
I believe that Ark of the Covenant, I believe it's in Ethiopia with everything in my being.
I've actually heard that, and I've seen a documentary on it. The thing about it is, not everybody agrees with that.
Well, isn't that how religion is?
Yeah, that's how everything is, for that matter.
You have a choice. And I believe it's there. Because there's those churches, what are they called?
Well, did you ever think about sending Boris after the Ark of the Covenant? I mean, you didn't do it in the book, but I was wondering, did that thought ever occur to you?
No.
Huh. I would have thought that.
I didn't want him to get his hands on that.
That's a little bit too much power, isn't it?
For real. But Boris now, you did understand the ending, what happened the 2 years that he was in limbo.
Well, that was kind of the part that I wasn't going to talk about on the air because I didn't want to give it away to people because that was kind of a surprise ending.
Well, let me say this. He was in limbo. What does that mean?
Well, that depends on who you're asking because different people look at it differently. But to me, it's a kind of like an area of non-existence. You're just in nothingness.
Right, exactly. And with him being in limbo, I tried to make it like time didn't matter where he was. But when he did come back, it was 2 years later. That's all I'm saying. I said how he came back or how he was when he came back. I'll give away the ending if I do.
My wife asked, why did you make all the women pregnant?
Well, back then, that's what women did. Pregnant. In the 50s and 60s,
Barefoot,
40s, 30s.
Barefoot and pregnant?
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, I noticed that you got the girl Hitler met got pregnant. Naturally, she had the son, and the son got married, and she got pregnant. But if I remember correctly, he got her pregnant before they actually got married. And then in the end, that other lady, the one that marries Boris, was pregnant before she married Boris as well, wasn't she?
I do believe so.
I mean, it's a trend here that everybody's getting pregnant before they get married.
Only 2.
It was only 2? Okay.
There was only 2.
But 2 out of 3 is the majority.
But of the 5, that traveled through time to stop Boris, now that I didn't do that until they got married.
Okay, so did you mean to do this to people? I mean, was there a message or a reason behind the two that weren't married when they got pregnant for putting it in the story that way?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, the birth of Boris, like, you know, his mother gave him up. And the birth of Sasha, which was Hitler's son, was about the only way I could figure out how to, you know, he's got Hitler's blood in him, but he had another father.
So that worked out. Oh, yeah, because you did need them to have a different father. And if they were already married, that would have been a little harder to work out, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Now, you know, in all honesty, I noticed that Boris started out being a good kid and had a promising future had it not been for the schoolyard bullies.
You're right. And I just wonder to this day how many people like Boris are influenced by something like that.
I would say probably a lot.
Awful.
Well, it doesn't help your self-esteem.
You got that.
But, you know, even his father was a good man during the most of his marriage as well. I think he had a moment of infidelity, or was it a moment of promiscuity that I'm thinking of? But other than that, he had a pretty good life. Yes,
he did, but I killed him off during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Because as I say, I wanted to stick to history. I used the facts and then weaved my web of fantasy around it.
Yeah, I thought sending him to Cuba seemed a little strange.
Well, the Cuban Missile Crisis was all about Russia and Cuba. And boats, and I think they had warships off the coast of Cuba or something. Oh, we did.
Oh, did we? You're talking about during the days of Hitler?
No, I'm talking about the days of JFK.
Oh, okay.
The Cuban Missile Crisis happened during JFK.
Oh, okay. And Hitler's son was involved in the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right.
I got you. Now I understand. Kind of interesting to put the son of Hitler involved in something like that, isn't it?
Well, it's in their blood. They had Hitler's blood. Give me a break. This guy was insane. I don't think I have ever run across anybody that actually totally believed in the rhetoric he was offering the world. I mean, it's scary. And, you know,
what was the most scary part for you?
Huh?
What was the most scary part of the rhetoric for you?
The scariest part of the rhetoric?
Yeah.
Getting rid of the unwanted, the disabled, the Jews. I mean, that was sick.
I think even in today's world, a lot of people would like to get rid of the disabled.
Well, I'm disabled, not they better not come toward me.
Yeah, I'm disabled too. I think you already know that, though.
Yeah, I'll run over with my electric chair and all these treads. Okay.
You do have an electric power chair.
Yes.
I'm supposed to be getting fitted for one in June.
I've been in mine 22 years in June.
Well, I'm in a regular wheelchair now, but I'll be fitted for a motorized one June 2nd. I'm waiting for that.
Big difference.
Big difference.
Uh-huh.
So, getting back to the book, one of the things that struck me as unusual was the way you had Boris's dad die. It was like he's fine, he goes swimming, and all of a sudden he croaks. I mean, there's no explanation for what made him die all of a sudden. I mean, he was still a young man.
But you see, what I do when I do something like that, I like the readers to interact and use their imagination.
Really? Because I used mine. The first thing I thought was it was an act so that he could get away from the girl without having to father the son or having to get married. And then I found out it wasn't an act.
See? It made you think.
Yeah, it did.
I like to play with people's heads.
It's natural to want to fill in gaps.
Oh, yeah.
It's also natural to try to make things make sense. Which is basically...
And like the ending of the book, I left it open in case, you know, in the future there's cries for a sequel. And I've already got that planned out.
Oh, do you? What, can you tell us a little something about the sequel?
The sequel is going to be about Boris's son. That's all I'm going to say.
Boy, that's not much to go on, but I'm sure you'll be in touch with me, giving me sneak previews, right?
Of course.
Okay. Now, back to the new book you got coming out, because I wanted to save you some time to get to that. What can you tell us about this book? And bear in mind, I haven't read it yet.
Well, like I say, Restraint of the Prophets is going to be a different kind of religious book. Because everything I've used is history. It's in black and white. So it cannot be denied. Because, I mean, like, go back. Okay, yes, I'm doing the Holy Roman Church. All right, one thing I answer is, I like Peter and Mary Magdalene used to argue a lot. But then I remember one thing, that one of the disciples, Levi, said to Peter, if the master deemed her worthy, then who are we to argue? I use that. The Council of Nicaea and Constantine. If he was such a Christian, why didn't he get baptized before he was on his deathbed? The man was pagan. Christianity was a brilliant political move. He was losing the Roman Empire at the time. And when he made Christianity the religion, it brought them together somewhat.
Well, temporarily.
Yeah. And then they get together with this Council of Nicaea to choose the books of the Bible. And that's where I say God's law or man's law. I mean, they're the ones that voted what should go in the Bible and what shouldn't.
Okay.
And I totally disagree. Because, I mean, like, the Gnostic Gospels, you've got the Gospel of Judas, you got the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. They're the Gnostics. You go into the Dead Sea Scrolls, you got the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Peter himself. But has it ever occurred to you that maybe St. Peter's Basilica should be called St. Mary's Basilica?
I'm not sure about it being called that either one of them, but I am aware that not long ago there was a body found underneath the basilica, and the Romans tried to swear and bedam that it was Peter's body, even though they couldn't prove it. Right.
They still say that. I want proof.
There's no proof that Peter even died in Rome.
There is one thing of religion that has been proven. That's the Shroud of Turin. They say it's authentic.
Really?
Really. They tested it. It was, last year. They tested it in Italy. There is no way that they had the technology to put that image of the man on the shroud. There is no way. And they said only one thing could have done that, And that was radiation. I said, oh, you think during the resurrection there would have been radiation? I do.
Interesting. I've
always thought that thing was real. There's no brush strokes couldn't be painted. And I mean, it's real. Now we're straight to the prophets. They're gonna find the Templar treasure. That's all I'm saying.
Well, don't you think the temple treasure ought to be at the same place as the Ark of the Covenant?
No.
Well, why would they separate them?
I think Solomon did it. I really do.
So you think it was separated long before the
yes, I do.
Babylonian captivity?
I think Solomon did it because it rested in the Holy of Holies, and to me, that is the Holy of Holies. And I think he sent it to Ethiopia with his son. Melech, him and the Queen of Sheba.
Okay, so if he had sent the that off then what happened to all the gold and the treasures that was stolen or taken by the Babylonians?
I don't think they got it all. I think the Knights Templar got the majority of it.
So some of it was buried after the captivity.
Oh yeah, there's still stuff down there.
In the catacombs.
Below the Dome of the Rock, in the very, very bowels of this place, there is a rock that Herod put up himself. The thing weighs 200 tons. What is behind that rock?
How did he get it there?
How do they build the pyramids? How do they build Stonehenge? How do they do Easter Island? The Moai, yes. How?
Granted, but those places are above ground. You're talking about some place in the underground.
Look in Egypt, they've got this big thing, it's this big, like graveyard with all these big sarcophagi in there. And nobody knows how they did it. But they did.
Well, it seems like they ought to be able to drill through that big old stone block or to
the Muslims won't let them.
Who won't?
The Muslims, they control it now. Now, I just got one question to ask about that burns within my soul. They are so sure of their religion. If they don't think they have anything to worry about, why won't they let them excavate under the Temple Mount?
Simple. If there's any treasure there, they want to claim it.
Well, I give them the treasure. I want the proof. To heck with the treasure.
And what proof do you think is down there? Proof of what?
I'm not sure. I really don't know.
But you think there is some secret down there, in other words?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
So is this a gut instinct, or you got some information?
It's just history. I mean, just 2 and 2 make 4. I mean, you think about it. Herod put that temple up at the Dome of the Rock, before the Muslims. So he evidently hid something down there. But now you've got to remember now when the Templars took over the Mount, they had it for 9 years. And you don't think they found something? I do. Like one of the treasures in the book I put is called the Platter of Salome. You figure it out.
Well, also, not long ago in Rennes-le-Château, they found a cave that had multiple scrolls in it, and it had a coffin that was covered with a Knight Templar sheet, because, I mean, it had the Rosy Cross right in the middle of it. And
I'm using that.
It had skeletons in there. Who's to say that the Templars didn't pull some of the treasure out of the Temple Mound and move it to Rennes-le-Château? And that's what this guy found in the movie, what did they call that movie? I interviewed the guy and his co-producer, and now I'm having trouble remembering.
Gosh, I wish I'd known that. Anytime you have somebody like that on your show, email me and let me know. The guy that did the documentary about Rennes-le-Château.
I think it was Bloodline the movie.
Right.
And
but I saw the same thing.
Him and Renee Barlett were both doing a film about another guy that had actually found this stuff underground in one of the caves, and they were trying to find a way to get it out because they couldn't find the regular entrance to it. In other words, they got into it like a hole in the rocks.
Did you see the treasure chest?
Yeah, there was treasure chests, there were scrolls, there was a coffin, there was a skeleton. I mean, you would think that if they went to all that trouble to hide them scrolls in that cave, that they had information that probably the Catholic Church did not want put out, that they didn't want the Catholics to get a hold of and destroy.
Well, also, the night before, King Philip the Fair went down on the Templars and arrested them. They had a whole fleet of ships off the coast of France. The next day, there were no ships. Where did they go?
I have no clue.
They came to North America.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you hear the part about the dysphoria where Mary Magdalene actually came over to Rennes-le-Château? And some people really believe that her family is who founded it, and that the Sinclairs are her family.
Yeah, I believe she made it to France. And I believe that's where she died, too. Because they say in one of the churches in the southern part of France that they have the skull of Mary Magdalene. What I would give to see it.
So we don't really know if that coffin has the body of Jesus or Mary Magdalene or another apostle, but we do know there's rumors about Mary Magdalene's skull in there.
Exactly. But I use that, and I'm going to tell you something. You'll be surprised to find out whose body was in that.
Probably would. I would probably agree with that, since I don't have the foggiest clue. I do not think it was Jesus' body.
Let's just put it like this. Who was in the coffin was touched by Christ?
Lazarus?
You got it? Big mouth.
So what leads you to believe that Lazarus is in that coffin?
It's my spin. I mean, you know, Lazarus and Christ were really close. They were really, really close. And Lazarus didn't get his dues the way he should have. So that's why I use him.
Okay. Now, aside from the Paradox 5 that's out, when does Restraint of the Prophets come out again? I just want to make sure everybody knows.
It'll be before the end of the year.
Before the end of the year. And when does your next book after that come out?
In the summer.
In the summer. Okay. Now, have you heard back from any movie producers about the Of Atlantis book? I think you told me once they were thinking of, they got a hold of you as wanting to make a movie out of it.
No, not yet, but I'm not giving up.
Well, you think you ought to write them a letter and light a fire under them?
If I could find how to write them a letter, I would. But I mean, you know, the addresses that you usually get are addresses where fans can write to the celebrity, and they never get it. If I could just, you know, find out one of their addresses that was for real.
Well, who was it that contacted you before?
It was a place called New Show Studios, and that didn't work out.
Well, you know, because I was thinking that the Paradox 5 and Of Atlantis would both be good to make a movie out of.
Oh, yes.
Oh, and by the way, my wife just...
And I've got a new series coming out, too.
Oh, what's that?
I can't say.
Okay, now, this is a series for TV or a series of books?
A series of books.
Ah, but it is something that could develop into a TV sitcom?
I wish.
Well, my wife just said in the chat room that she friended you on Facebook, so you'll probably see that when you get go to your Facebook page again.
Well, that's cool.
Now, is there anything you want to tell my listeners about that I haven't thought to ask you about?
Just my ideas are unique. They've never been done. As David says, I'm weird. But, you know, that's what's going to make me right there, are my ideas. Just like Stephen King. He didn't become famous because of the way he writes. He became famous because of his ideas.
Right. It's the idea that, well, the movie industry is always looking for new material, stuff that hadn't been done yet, because it's hard to keep rehashing the old stuff and keep an interest in it.
Have you seen where they're making the remake of RoboCop?
No, I have not, but what can they...
They are making another remake of Godzilla.
Now, that one I've heard about.
Yeah.
Of course, now I hear tell that some of these remakes ain't worth a dime.
Oh, God, the one that broke my heart was War of the Worlds. With Tom Cruise. Oh, God. There was nothing like the first one.
Well, did you see The Conjuring?
Yes, I did.
You know, Andrea Perrin, the girl that grew up in the house, is another one of my friends that's been on my show a few times.
Whoa.
So I got the inside scoop about I interviewed her about House of Darkness, House of Light, and I interviewed her about The Conjuring, both.
Well, what was behind The Conjuring?
Her books, The House of Darkness, House of Light, they turned it into a movie, and they renamed it The Conjuring, basically. And the movie, The Conjuring, was really about the investigation by Fred and Lorraine, Ed and Lorraine Warren is what I'm thinking of. And they took a lot of creative licensing, according to Andrea Perrin, when they made the actual scenes.
Mm.
I think we got a DVD of it. We saw the movie. It was pretty intense, and I'm surprised my wife didn't have nightmares.
You know, I write thrillers. I don't like blood and gore. Stuff makes my skin crawl.
Well, I think for what you're doing, you're on the right track, because people are always into a mystery-type suspense novel that they can't really guess how it's going to end, in other words. Yeah,
if I had became famous for nothing, I have become famous for my twists and turns. Which that is good, because like I said, I like to get into the reader's head and make them think.
Okay.
Or sit there and try to figure it out, and then, doggone it, she did it again.
So tell me something. Have you got any last-minute thoughts for everybody?
Repeat that. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said, do you have any last-minute thoughts for everybody?
Yes, go to DonnaInkPublications.org and buy my book, Paradox 5.
Or
I don't think anybody will be I think everybody will be pleased with the book.
You can also purchase it right here on my website, and I'll get a commission on it if you do that. Unless you got a reason you wanted to get it from her directly.
Just right now, my website isn't working like it should, and so I'm going to send you to her website.
Oh, okay. I was sending them straight to Amazon.
Either one.
Main thing is that you get to make the sales.
True. But you know, that's second to me. My major pay is when somebody reads my book and the look on their face or their doggone twists and turns. I love it. I love it.
Let's say one of the biggest compliments you can get is when somebody don't want to put the book down till they're through reading it.
There you go.
Of course, that has to be something like 150, not more than 200 pages for that, because anything more than that, you run out of time if you cook and clean and, you got kids, for example.
Oh, yeah, like I've got my little 9-week-old Cocker Spaniel. It's just like having a baby.
Yeah, we got a little baby puppy, too. Our Chihuahua had sex with a Dalmatian and ended up with 3 puppies.
Oh, I bet they're precious.
Well, we give 2 of them away, and the third one is still here chewing everything up, including my cannulas. And I need my cannulas for my oxygen.
I gotta keep, these toddler gates that you buy. I got one right in the hall going into the living room. And at night, we pull it and clasp it so he can't get through into the living room.
Ah. But then he whimpers a lot.
No, 9 times out of 10, he sleeps all night. He's pretty good about that.
Oh, cool. Now.
But of course, he's right with me.
I want to remind everybody that you can go to her website, www.linealee.blogspot.com. And actually, there's no www, just HTTP. And you put in her name and then blogspot.com. And you'll go to her blog there. It's one of those Google blogs, in fact. Also want to remind everybody, Talk Now Radio is listener supported. If I'm going to stay on the air, I need all the help I can get, especially since Obama decided, or not Obama really, but Republicans, the teabaggers, decided to high pressure Obama into lowering the food stamps $200 and leaving me with only $20 a month for groceries. It makes it harder. That's $200 I can't devote to my show anymore every month. So if I'm going to stay out there, I need all the support I can get. So don't forget to do that. Don't forget to invite your friends. And don't forget, I'll be archiving this probably, I would say Monday, because I probably ain't going to do much work tomorrow with it being Easter. And then, Linnea, I'm going to send you the links to it. And I'm going to call this show a wrap because I kind of promised a mad painter, the host over at Revolution Radio, that when I got through with this show, I'd give a call in over there because he promised me if I called in, I could plug my show while I was on the phone.
There you go. Free PR. What else can you want?
Well, that's actually why I agreed to be a host over at Revolution Radio. I do a spot with them every Thursday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from 1 to 3 their time, 1 to 3 my time, 2 to 4 their time. Every Thursday, 2-hour slot. I do it Revolution Radio, and I kind of agreed to do it.
What are their topics? I mean,
I cover the same material over there I cover over here. Most of their hosts do. It's just that where I've got my own show here, they have 60 hosts over there, so they have shows nonstop all day long, whereas you have to be here during my show time to catch my show. Unless you go to my archive. So I go
thank
there.
the Lord for the archive.
I do a show, and then I ask everybody to come over here on my days and listen to my show over here.
There you go. Free PR.
I'm getting free PR. They're getting free content. Everybody's happy.
There you go.
So, win-win. That's my favorite type of situation. With that, Linnea, you have a good Easter. Don't forget to send me some barbecue or something. Or send me some cookies.
I hear you.
And we'll talk to you later. And I will definitely be in touch. Folks, I want to thank you for listening. Couldn't have a show without you. If you did nothing but listen, you participated. And I need your listeners, as much as anything. So keep tuning in and keep sending your friends. Y'all have a good Easter. Bye-bye. Okay.
For authors, filmmakers, entertainment, and all your listening needs. Listen now to Talk Now Radio, where no topic is taboo.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man, and joining me tonight is Linnea Lee, and me and her are going to discuss her newest book out on the market, Paradox 5, and this is it's a novel. It's sort of a futuristic science fiction novel, in fact, that is adventures, and very good one I might want to add to you. I think you guys are going to enjoy this here, and I know I enjoyed reading the book, and I was so thankful to her that she thanked me in the book with the rest of her friends that she put up in the front, and that kind of gave me the big head and made me feel good. And I just had to go give her a really good review over at Amazon. You might want to go check out. But for now, we're going to bring her right on in here. Linnea, how you doing today?
I'm here.
Okay, that's good because I'm there.
Okay.
So, do you want to read this here poem first, or do you want to go into the book first?
You are going to read the poem.
All right.
I'm not good at reading poems.
Folks, Linnea has sent me a poem that she wants and physically never mend. Those that follow you, we are all sisters and brothers. The women of your teaching, we were not scared as we knew our own safety was at risk. You are the way, the truth, and the life. So why should we fear? Protected by the Father. We knew we were never at risk. What you taught us in our minds remains very clear. We, the weaker sex, we feel there is no need to fear. Not even the Romans could make us abandon you. Watching as you suffer. Is your husband got a microphone or something on it? It's like I hear his voice keep cutting in.
No, you're hearing my puppy.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's what that is.
I'm pretty sure your husband won't appreciate the comparison.
Well, they're both fuzzy.
You can apologize for me. Anyway.
They're both fuzzy.
Not even the Romans can make us abandon you. Watching as you suffer on the cross for us all, watching you on the cross, it all becomes clear. The Son of God, the Son of Man, for what you sacrificed, we should be happy, not sad and blue. At the foot of the cross, we stand beside you until death, watching the hell that was not your choice, that was bestowed on you. Then all of a sudden you cry out as you take your last breath. We know you went through agony. You asking why the Father had abandoned you, but in the end, this fact wasn't true. Crucifixion is known to the last for a day, but the Father's love, only 6 hours you're at. To Linnea Lee.
I hope your wife heard that.
I don't want to forget to say Happy Easter, everybody, because I won't be on the air tomorrow to tell them. Now, what exactly inspired you to write about the Paradox 5 and Hitler and use this time machine concept?
Well, it's different. I always try to keep my ideas different. And I am what you say, historical thriller author. And to me, the biggest fear of the 20th century was Hitler. And that's why I chose to write on Hitler. And then the time travel just kind of stuck in there. And it was just different. I thought it up.
Okay, so when you were doing this here, do you plan on writing any sequels to it?
If it's called for.
If it's called for. So why don't you give us sort of a summary of how you would describe the book?
Wait, give me just a minute. My puppy's acting up here.
That's all right.
He's a little cocker spaniel. 9 weeks old.
Agony lasts. We watched you die. We cried even though we knew 3 days you would rise. We are so thankful the Father intervened that in such a short time from this life it soon became the past. On the cross everyone suspected who you were. You never wore a mask or a guise. So we watched you die at the foot of the cross. We mourn, we cry. Most of the men, they would flee, but we the women were there until the very end. And we understand what you had to do and why. You the Messiah, you gave your life so forgiveness and salvation would be available to all men. It's quite a poem there, Linnea.
I wanted to do something, in the topic of Easter, but something different. So I decided to write about the women, the high five to women. There we go.
Well, actually in the end, the Bible does say that I think it was Mary, his mother, and Mary Magdalene that did stay there at the cross during the whole thing. I'd have to look that up to make sure my memory's not bad.
You're absolutely right. I've been obsessed with religion since I was 16. I've got 40 years in my head. You're right.
So, now that you've high-fived all the ladies, which, by the way, happy Easter to everybody out there, including my better half. And do you want me to read live on the air? And I thought we'd go ahead and get this out of the way real quick, But before we do, I want to remind everybody that Talk Now Radio is listener-supported radio. And with your help, it can stay listener-supported. In other words, we won't need a sponsor, because if you get a sponsor in here, first thing they're going to do is if I have a topic come up they don't like, they're going to say, we're going to withhold our funding. We're not going to, support your show because we don't like the topic matter. So I try to find means of support that don't involve, telling me what I can and can't talk about on the air. And that's where you guys come in at. So don't forget, we got a donation meter over here on the right. I've got Google ads up at the top. That's another way you can support us. If you like one of the guests, you want to buy their book, don't go buy it direct from Amazon. Click on the link I have here at the site because I get a little commission for that. So always make sure you do it that way to help out and keep us on the air. And also don't forget to invite your friends and tell them about us. If you like the show, I'm pretty sure they will too. Now, going into the poem. Let me get this out of the way real quick. And in fact, let me enlarge this. Kind of make up for my bad eyes. Okay. We are the brave ones that stood by you until the very end. We the weak showed more loyalty and bravery than all the others, not fearing for ourselves as we watched the physical body die